Okay, ladies, do any of y'all want to hang with Sir Walter Jones on Today?
Yes!
No, not at all. We don't want you. Please don't come. No, I'm just joking. You can come along.
Hey, this is John Hanna, and you're listening to the Sir Walter Jones Show.
Let's go. Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. What's his name? Sir Walter Jones. Whose show is this? Sir Walter Jones. Who is it? Sir Walter Jones. Say it again. Sir Walter Jones. Who you with? Sir Walter Jones. One more again. Sir Walter Jones.
The Sir Walter Jones Show with co-host Alvin Carter. We are a Christian talk show in which we tackle all the hot topics in the believer's walk. It's Fireside Friday. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and be encouraged in the Lord.
Friday.
We're like under 9 feet of water here. We're trying to get out. We have a baby. There's 5 of us. We're very frightened.
Voices of desperation amid the devastation of Hurricane Katrina.
My house is underwater. I have me, my husband, the 3-year-old, and a newborn. So we're stuck with no water, and one of the babies is running a high fever.
With the water rising around them, listeners called in to the only radio station left on air in New Orleans.
A lot of you on the phones trying to help me out here, to help the people out there. Stay with us. We're your lighthouse, gang, in this moment of darkness.
WWL's headquarters were ravaged by the winds, but broadcasts continued from an emergency studio.
Early in the mid-city, you're on WWL.
This whole area is flooded back here, and it happened after the storm.
The system designed to protect New Orleans from flooding had failed.
We sitting on the porch looking at the water rising up. We never had no flood back. The cause is underwater completely. And we don't have no way to get out or nothing. It's just coming up.
Well, I was feeling that this was it. This probably be the last person would hear my voice if we didn't get help because it was coming, it was rising.
Erlene escaped with her husband by boat. They spent a year in Houston, Texas, before returning to the same house.
Just thank God that my husband got us out of here. He saved him and my neighbor next door. They saved a lot of people.
As New Orleans pleaded for salvation, many people asked why the government hadn't sent help. And that's when the city's mayor, Ray Nagin, phoned into the station unannounced.
Excuse my French, everybody in America, but I am pissed. Now get off your asses and let's do something. And let's fix the biggest goddamn crisis in the history of this country. People are dying. They don't have homes. The city of New Orleans will never be the same.
We're both pretty speechless here.
Yeah, I don't know what's...
I gotta go.
Okay. Keep in touch. Keep in touch.
Okay. Can we take a break?
We had people die. We had people we knew weren't going to make it. And we had their relatives hear them. So that was tough. That was hard. That was beyond hard. That was the worst part. And I think that fueled the anger even more.
The radio station provided a voice for people during Hurricane Katrina, and today the scars of that storm are still visible here. While much of the city has been rebuilt, many homes and buildings remain untouched and serve as a painful reminder of what happened here 10 years ago. Regina Vaidyanathan, BBC News in New Orleans.
Hello, everybody. Sir Walter Jones Show. I am he. It's Friday.
Fireside Friday. Yeah. We sit around the mic and we talk about current events that's happening in the world today. And it could be happening today, if not this week, if not this month, if not this year, but usually current events that's been going on in America. We are an informed radio show, the Sir Walter Jones Show. We don't just do just Christian stuff dealing with just stuff that might have happened 90,000 years ago. Antiquity, and we bring all that stuff up. We have every day of the week we talk about things that are dealing with us, and we cover the whole spectrum. Mondays is our men's night, Tuesdays our women's night, and Wednesday we talk about music. Okay, Thursday we talk strictly about the Bible, and then Friday we talk about current events. I mean, you can't have no better show than that, because every week on a certain night we're gonna talk about a certain thing dealing with the Christian's his life. This week has been very interesting, though, because we have quite a few anniversaries going on. We have the Emmett Till, 60-year anniversary of that killing is this week. I got something I'm going to play with that. And let's see what else. Of course, the Katrina 10-year anniversary of that horrible day. Man, I get speechless every time I look at the images, see the images on TV. You guys can YouTube a lot of this stuff, and it is absolutely horrible. And we're going to talk about that and reflect about some of the things that happened that day, things that was done right and things that were done wrong. And you'll see that many things were done wrong. But let's define things, because on our show we like to go back and define, talk about the premise of the show, do the backstory, and find out what is it. How do we define our shows? Obviously, Carter's back from taking his daughter off to college, and he looked like he's been crying.
What does that look like? Define that.
He looked like he's been tearing up, because trust me, I've done this. I've been doing it for 4 years now with one child, and it gets harder. Well, it gets easier each time.
You're closer to the end of paying for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
That's what the tears come from.
The
tuition. Tears equal tuition equal tears.
Yeah, tears. And so, matter of fact, Monday I'm going to be driving down to see my little girl. She's actually, now what's going to happen, Alvin, probably or probably not, depending on how far she have to go. Iowa?
Cedar Rapids.
Okay, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. All right. Now, how long is that drive?
Legally, 4.5 hours.
Okay, you got 4.5 hours drive. All right, mine is about 4.5 hours drive as well. But what's going to happen is sometimes kids they get down there and they like the surroundings,
and they don't come home.
I know. And now I have an empty nest because my daughter got a job at Walmart down there this year, and then she said, "Well, I got a job. I might as well get an apartment."
See,
then she got an apartment. Now
that's the letting go.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm used to perfume smell in my house during the summertime, and now it's just me and the dog, and and the dog go out there in the back and bring in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She brought in a possum the other day.
Ain't that a?
Mm-hmm. Brought in a big old possum. One that looked like he just been eating for about 3 weeks. Fat.
He trying to bring you dinner.
You know what I'm saying? And I was done with the night, and I walked out of my office, and there was that possum sitting at the door, because animals bring you gifts.
Yeah.
They bring
a kill
gifts.
is a gift.
It's a gift. Mm-hmm.
Yes. My dog brought me a squirrel one day.
Really.
Said it
right there. Yeah. Well, I would prefer the squirrel than the possum, because that possum was laying there
and it wasn't dead.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. I don't care how much she thought she ripped it apart.
Until there's blood.
Mm-hmm. And it ain't dead. And I'm looking at that thing, and I'm talking to Iris like an adult. I said, Iris, now you realize this possum's not dead. I said, no, that possum not dead. I said, matter of fact, take the possum outside. She didn't know. I said, here, take him out. You have to know your animal.
Yeah,
okay?
you gotta know how to communicate with him.
I said, now take the possum outside. So she got him up the stairs, took him outside, laid him down on the grass. I said, okay, all right. He didn't leave that fast. I said, now come on back in. Now let's sit here and watch. So we sat there and watched for a while. I left the door open and let her watch it, and I went in back in the office and did something. I came back out. You know what happened to that possum, right? Possum was gone. And I know I was just having a fit because I let her watch it through the screen door. And so she couldn't go outside and chase him again. So that's all I have in the house. Is a dog, and so I'll be going down there Monday so I can smell my daughter's perfume again, because I kind of miss her. Yeah. What is a hurricane?
Wow.
Yeah. A hurricane.
Big storm.
It's a big storm. We have wasn't it a wrestler called Hurricane? I think it was
No, it's a boxer.
It's a boxer?
Hurricane
Okay.
Carter. He was a professional middleweight champ who was falsely accused and placed in prison.
Really?
And refused to conform to prison life. He wouldn't wear a prison uniform because he said he was an innocent man. And it's a true story. Reuben Carter was his name.
Oh, wow. Reuben Carter.
Yeah, Reuben Carter. He was a veteran, but grew up in the rural area of New Jersey and racism, and they just had it in for him. Wow. And they didn't care he was a champ. They arrested him on false charges, and he finally got out. And they made a movie about it, and Denzel Washington played the role.
Oh, that one. I was wondering why I recognized that name, Carter.
Yep.
It wasn't you. It was your cousin.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's find out what this is, because I have realized that many of my African American brothers and sisters do not pay much attention to the news.
No.
Okay. I'm probably develop an entire show about that because it's bad. A hurricane is a type of a tropical cyclone, is what it is, okay, which is a generic term for a low-pressure system that generally forms in the tropics. This is a time on TV news where many of you turn the channel. From if it's 10 o'clock, you guys hear all the breaking news up until about, let's see, what comes on first? Is it the news? Is it the weather or the sports? Weather. I think it's the weather first. Okay, so around 10:15 maybe. Weather comes on, you guys turn the channel around that time, okay? And then
breaking news, headlines, weather comes in the middle of the show.
Yes,
I thought you said the beginning of the show.
No.
I guess I wasn't listening.
You weren't listening. He on his phone, probably talking to you know who, acting a fool. And then you guys will. Matter of fact, you may not turn the channel. You may just put it on pause, or mute. That is. And then when it looks like somebody just made a dunk or a home run or a touchdown, that's when you take the mute button off because it's sports time. All right.
Yeah, that's a waste of time too.
Yeah. So
it's a sidebar. It's amazing how sports get a human reaction.
Yeah.
Out of people, and they don't profit a dime.
The people
don't. They lose more than they profit. The people.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We get excited if our team wins.
We do.
We exude energy. We spend money on regalia. We pay expensive tickets to go see it live, and you don't enjoy it as good live as you do on TV because you don't get up close view like you do on TV, and TV is free. It's just amazing how the minor things are major in our lives.
The minor things are major in our lives, and that is the death of a lot of us. Remember when the what is it that happens every 4 years? The Olympics.
Oh God, yes.
The Olympics was was hoping
it had been here.
Yes, and you saw what happened. Okay,
thank God.
You saw where all that money was being allocated. Okay, and they were trying to make you, Alvin Carter, feel good about your community because
it's going to take it. They've been taking.
Absolutely. And then when they realized we lost that bid, guess what happened to the money? Guess what happened to all that building?
Some of it just left.
In fact, it says we don't have any money.
Yeah, all of a sudden it's gone.
It's gone.
It's just gone.
Yeah,
you sound like me with the stock market.
You see what I'm saying? The cyclone is accompanied by thunderstorms, and in the northern hemisphere, a counterclockwise circulation of winds near the Earth's surface. Tropical cyclones are classified as follows. And I'm going to give you this, but I remember being in high school and studying physical science and earth science. Okay, those two were some of my, in biology, were three of my best topics, subjects, that is. I always got A's and B's on those because I was so fascinated by how God created this earth. And what I wanted to know, how does it rain? And why does it rain in certain areas? I remember standing in my backyard one day in the 70s, and it was raining, pouring down. When I walked in the front lawn, there was no rain. I walked right in the back lawn, there was rain.
Isn't that an anomaly?
I couldn't believe it. I was fascinated by how was that possible. So finally, when they was introducing us to these science classes in school, I needed to know. And to this day, I still have my high school books at home. And this stuff is.
They've been at home when you got them.
Mm-hmm.
When your book, Walter. I live it at home.
I live it at home. The dog ate the.
You never brought them back.
Right. I still got them. And I crack open those books every now and then. Y'all don't realize a lot of the shows that I do is from a lot of my reading. Y'all say, some people say, why you be so knowledgeable on all these subjects? It's because them books from high school. Reading is fundamental. And I have a library. I don't really have to go to the library. And I'm not talking about because we have Google. I'm talking about I have physical books at home where I don't really have to go to the library for that, not too much.
I understand.
Mm-hmm. So the cyclones. All right. So here are the 3 classifications. Okay. And then we got Annette on the show. She's going to do some reading and some, she's giving us a woman's point of view in that little chuckle.
Is she qualified for that?
Well, because you guys... We went. Let me see.
Yes, I am. Very much qualified. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, Caitlin.
All my life.
Caitlin. All right, Caitlin.
I'm true.
There's what's called a tropical depression. Okay, y'all heard that, right? It's an organized system of clouds and thunders with a thunderstorm with a defined surface circulation and maximum sustained winds of 38 miles per hour. All right, or less. Okay, we get down to Chicago almost all the time. Yeah, we the windy city, and of course, we're not the windy city because of the wind. Actually, the windy city is a political term. It's not because of the wind. It's because of the politics. The politicians will win bags, and that's a true story. Y'all go to Google. Its sustained winds are about a minute average, with measures at about 33 feet. Okay, that's a tropical depression. Then they got what's called a tropical storm. Mm-hmm. It's an organized system of strong thunderstorms with a defined surface circulation and maximum sustained winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour. All right, some of my ex-girlfriends. Ooh. And then you got what's called hurricane, which is the name of my other girlfriend, Hurricane.
That's that big girl.
That's that big girl.
Hurricane Katrina.
Yes. Her name really was Katrina. An intense tropical weather system of strong thunderstorms with a well-defined surface circulation and maximum sustained winds of 74 miles per hour. 74 miles per hour.
It's all about velocity and speed, which
Absolutely
changes its category, but it's all precipitation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I perceive you knew what you just said there.
Mm-hmm. I speak in tongue. It's called science tongue.
Science tongue. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hurricanes are categorized.
Geographic ease.
Geographic ease. He's a geographic ease.
Wait. What's the other term? Atmospherologist.
No, nigga.
You just called me.
You're a niggerologist. That what he is.
You just called me.
You brought the best in him.
Hurricanes.
I'm a meteorite man.
Sit down. That's what you need to
Meat eater.
Hurricanes are categorized according to the strength of their winds using the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. Mm-hmm. Yeah, these are relative terms because lower category storms can sometimes inflict greater damage than higher category storms, depending on where they strike and the particular standards of the rise. In fact, tropical storms can be pretty damage. No. Did y'all understand that?
Like the commercials when they go off and get the disclaimers real quick.
That's what
Summer breeze. It is Friday.
It is Friday, and we do this all the time. Sorry about that.
Now, ironically, I invited somebody to come to the show, but they just couldn't. They were in town, just passing through, but they had to leave.
Who
he
that?
Survived.
Katrina?
Hurricane Katrina. He was
Really?
a pastor down there at the time.
Wow.
He came to town right before I left town, and I housed his car in my garage. And then I was like, man, you need to come to the show. Had no clue what the show was about. And he agreed. But then he said, I can't make this show because I got to get back to where his assignment time changed. Because he was going to come and just kick it. I said, it's Fireside Friday, just kick it.
Yeah, right.
Well, he was a pastor in the middle of Hurricane Katrina. He's my uncle. And, yep.
Oh, man.
Pastor Key. He would have been able to really give us.
This would have, yeah.
Because it's because of him I started visiting New Orleans annually to see the impact of that hurricane.
Okay.
And you know I got a conspiracy behind that. Me and my theories.
Your life is a conspiracy.
Yeah, if you only knew.
From 4 to 6, we find out. Allison got a question though. She says, "Here's a question within your question. If God doesn't destroy America or parts of it, would He have to apologize to Nineveh or Sodom and Gomorrah?" I've heard this question before.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And
it sounds witty, but they don't understand the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah in its true context to understand. In contrast to this dilemma.
We did the Church of the what is it called? We called the show the United States of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Go to that show, and I think I might have answered it on that show. But first of all, God ain't apologized for nothing.
He may have repented for doing things, like he said he repented for making Saul king. But he ain't gonna apologize for what he destroyed. Who he gonna answer to? His own word.
Here's the thing. Right, good. But here's the thing. If he apologized, that means he's gonna correct it. You get that?
Yeah.
Right. So if he apologizes, okay, let me correct it. But when he repent in Scripture, he don't correct it.
I can't agree with that. Now we finna go at it. Our very premise of salvation is correction and fixing it based upon it.
All right. He did not correct it immediately when he said it. He talked to Moses and he said he repented for making man. Did he get rid of us?
Oh, no. He sent a new man to fix it.
Okay, but he had that in the plan before Moses.
All of it's in the plan.
So that's my point. So he didn't correct it. He had already had it.
It was corrected. You get apples to oranges, man.
Shut up.
Come on.
You see what I'm saying? We do this on Friday. And I like that,
Make
though.
y'all think.
Right. And I really like that, though, all kidding aside. That's a good way of putting it, because the correction didn't happen right away. Because the plan of salvation.
Now, based on what you said, the correction happened right away. It didn't manifest right away.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Okay.
He must have been spending some time in the car with the Lord.
I prayed, yeah. I prayed.
Okay, Lord, so why didn't it happen right away?
Because everything is about appointment with God.
That's it.
He's a synchronized God. Salvation and synchronization.
Not that it could not happen right away.
Well, heck, he could have just said, scratch, ball up, throw away.
Exactly.
Right.
In fact, he did somewhat except for Noah and his crew.
Right.
He eliminated a whole earth full of people.
True.
Yeah, that's good. And you have this saying, he may not come when you want him,
but he's always on
time. But really, he's in time, more so on time.
Yeah, and what he does is he stops time for us to catch up with him.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. So the correction is all in the plan. And we talked about it on
because you learn from your mistakes.
You do.
And then if you can record your errors along so you can see what mistakes you made, when it's time for the redesign, you can see you could see in a distance. No, as I'm going this path right here at this stage, I can't go here. It seems natural to go here, but I better stop because the last time I turned right, it was a roadblock or construction, or it's just not the right way.
And you're right. I know we have a caller, but
we do.
I know you didn't. I know you don't like dispensation. Okay, that's fine. But we talked about dispensation last Thursday. And I believe in dispensation not because it's...
No, I'm a dispensationalist.
You are. Somebody said they're not on the show.
That's that other boy on the
Okay, all right.
This is dispensation.
This is dispensation, and dispensation
is... otherwise I'd have to be a kingdom-minded person.
Okay,
and I'm not a kingdom-minded person because I look at it literally as well as spiritually. And you can't, I don't care how much we preach it and how well it sounds, we are not in a kingdom.
Right.
We're not.
Yeah, you talking about on spiritual land?
Spiritual and natural. So.
Well, they call the United States a kingdom.
They can call it what they want.
If you want to interpret Scripture as
kings, even if it was a kingdom, then it would still be a monarchy.
Sure.
And there's not a monarchy. It's a group of people maybe controlling.
And back then, that's pretty much all they had. When you look at Scripture, it always referred to kingdoms because that was
the only government.
That's the only government system of government in a sense. Okay, who's this on the phone?
This is Cousin Paul.
Who that? Cousin Paul?
That's right.
He in the second place called hell, y'all.
Yeah, it's about 103.
Oh my Lord.
Keep it there.
Thermostat.
Good Lord. Everybody walking around naked up in that time.
I don't want to see that.
Don't fight the funk. Around naked.
Don't fight the funk. What you want to fuss about, cousin?
Listen, Alvin is my cousin on my mother's side because they're from New Orleans, and you, my cousin on my father's side,
Wow.
they from Mississippi.
Wow.
I'm from Mississippi, man.
Wow.
Oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Bell's on Humphreys County.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm from, my father's from Holmes County. You talk about Chula, Durant, and all those places.
Oh, yeah. Holmes
But,
County.
it's interesting what you're talking about.
Mobile homes.
Because the world or the universe as we made it, God did not create it in a vacuum. And I enjoy studying paradoxes because of the fact that Adam and Eve did sin. They did disobey, and by right man should have been wiped off. But God asked Adam. He said, "You mean to tell me that you went on ahead and did what this woman said, and you know that you was wrong?" So it's almost like he preserved that. He saw the value in that and looked ahead in time and sent Jesus to redeem man.
Yes.
And I find that fascinating. Like you all was talking about Saul, and I had asked the question before: if Saul had listened to Nathan, would God had anointed David? See, this whole thing is not done in a vacuum.
Right.
When God said that He blew the breath of life in us and made us a living soul, it is that for sure. Now, one other thing, on a scientific basis, the United States Gulf Coast. When you think about, like we talk about the Mississippi Delta, and we talk about Louisiana, like those states are basically one giant wetland. And unless you know about waterfowl, stuff like ducks and things like that, and a lot of people hunt in the wetlands, and they fish and stuff, but what the wetlands and the deltas are for is a barrier against those hurricanes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you have atmospheric pressures along the Atlantic Ocean, and they talk about El Nino, and that's the reason why the climate is getting hotter. Just a few degrees hotter in the atmosphere causes those pressures, and it causes the more hurricanes. Because in order to form a hurricane, you need pressure and you need temperature. And those wetlands have historically been to protect the land from hurricanes.
Wow.
It's all a part of the system, and because we went against the system, and like for example, if you look at the sea level of New Orleans should have never been there.
That's right.
Because it's
With
so
the levee
below.
systems and things, there's no secret reason why those levees
Wow.
failed, because they could not stand a Category 5 hurricane.
Wow.
And because they were too below sea level.
Wow.
If you
And when
believe that story.
The wetland system, and in New Orleans, they kept on doing it. Matter of fact, it's not only New Orleans, but it's also Biloxi
Right.
and Gulfport.
Because they all got hit.
They all got hit.
Yes.
And because, like, for example, Mississippi is one giant delta. What that
Right.
means is that's basically land floating on water.
Wow. See, this is good stuff. Cousin, I don't want you to hang up. Can I take a break? Can you hang on?
Sure.
Because we finally got somebody. We got an expert on this stuff. Hang on. I got a break. I got to play a file. This is a file called Hurricane Katrina 10 years later. It's about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back with my dear cousin Paul Rogers, all the way from the second place. Call hell. Arizona. All right, y'all. We'll be right back. Sir Walter Jones Show.
This is what happens in New Orleans. Walk down the street, run into a band. These junior high students go to school here in the lower 9th Ward, an area that was practically erased by Katrina. 2 years later, their school was the first in the community to reopen, but a decade later, things here are hardly back to normal. The band marches past broken down cars, spaces where houses used to be, and stairs to nowhere.
This was Miss Douglas.
It's like Floyd Track is giving me a ghost tour.
This is where the Browns stayed at.
The houses, his neighbors, all invisible.
And this is all gone too? All is gone.
The thing is, since Katrina, he's seen New Orleans rebuild, just not here. Here, in this predominantly black neighborhood, he says they're like outcasts.
Probably be more likely because it's predominantly black.
The 10th anniversary brought the president to the lower ninth to praise the resurrection of this city and the resilience of its residents.
Part of our goal has always been to make sure not just that we recovered from the storm, but also that we started dealing with some of the structural inequities that existed long before the storm happened.
But those I spoke with wanted President Obama to know one thing. Those inequities haven't improved, they've become worse.
One recent survey found nearly 4 out of 5 white residents believe the city has mostly recovered, but nearly 3 out of 5 black residents say it hasn't. And a separate survey found that the income gap between black and white residents has actually widened.
See, the poverty numbers can't be masked. It can't be varnished.
In the lower ninth, some roads are being fixed, a few houses are being rebuilt. Politicians say it's proof that New Orleans is heading in the right direction. But many African Americans here can't erase the feeling that their lives are sliding backwards. That these kids may, in fact, be worse off 10 years from now. Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, New Orleans.
10 years later, y'all, Hurricane Katrina. Man, it was a crazy time around that time. Where were you 10 years ago during that time, Alvin?
Actually finding my uncle and making sure that he was safe.
He lived in New Orleans.
At the time he lived there, okay. And he ended up flying. He ended up getting to Houston, and then flying to Chicago to bring his grandchildren here with family that's here, and getting them settled and safe because he was down there as a pastor and there's no other relatives there, and making sure that he was comfortable and helping to plan some form of rescue.
Wow.
For people.
Sure.
And after Katrina, I was going down there every year, visiting and seeing how we could contribute to the cause. We even did a recording for it.
Sure.
Called "Delivered Out of the Storm."
Oh wow. Cousin Paul, you still on the phone?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Hey man, you were saying something very interesting about the atmospheric pressure and things that are happening, and about how below sea level New Orleans is. And as Alvin says, if you believe the story, okay, let's try to believe the story today, Alvin. Okay. And then you got Biloxi, Mississippi, and all those points
now,
south.
You can compare the damage to those areas too.
Absolutely.
Because I drove from New Orleans to Alabama, and you could drive down I-10. Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Man, you could see, and the damage that was done a year later. A year later, they hadn't recovered a whole entire. That was like a Six Flags there, and you still saw toppled over amusement rides and thrill rides, and it was like uprooted. It was like wow. It was like something came and just shook.
It really doesn't surprise me when I kind of studied the whole situation. It just seems when you do urban planning. And one of the first things that urban planners do, because you're talking about government, is they try to give the cheapest land to schools and to minorities. So it's no secret to me that the lower classes, vis-a-vis African Americans in New Orleans, was in those wards that was devastated by the flooding and the fact that those levees broke. I read a study that said that there was no way in the world, even though that was a big civil project, the building of the levee system in Louisiana. It's no secret the reason why they failed, simply because there's not enough concrete and stone that you can put there to sustain that type of pressure. And because they always will have hurricanes in that part of the country, that land, if you forecast more than 5-year plans, if you do 10 and 20, even 50, 100-year plans, you see that there's no way that land is really sustainable for humans.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we got a big crisis. A lot of people don't realize that it has nothing to do with El Nino or climate change, which a lot of Christians don't believe in climate change, but they really should.
Right.
Simply because if you think about the glaciers on the pole regions, they are melting. Places like Greenland and Iceland, those countries in Europe are beginning to melt away. But in the United States, in the Puget Sound region, the tectonic plates are dividing. You have more what they call seismic activity in those regions. And I read a report that within the next 10 years, they should have a major incident in the state of Washington and Utah, all up and down the western coast of the United States, especially in the Puget Sound region. And because the Puget Sound region is below sea level, we're talking about Washington State, Alaska, Oregon, Utah, places like that. And the people have houses built all up and down those regions. They expect that we will have a giant tsunami on the western coast of the United States, and because we are nowhere prepared for it and are still building houses and developing urban areas in those parts, we're talking about major devastation in the western part of the United States. But if you look at the atmospheric conditions along the Gulf coast of the United States, we're talking about Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, and Louisiana, even parts of Arizona and New Mexico. Arizona and California. We're going to have, still going to have major incidents in those areas simply because we as human beings are still building urban areas on places that we were never meant to be.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Man, now see you.
Now that I totally wholeheartedly agree.
Yes, man. See, now I was hoping that you would bring that stuff out. I'm glad you were able to call in because this is vital. These are the things that we don't talk about in the African American community because it doesn't benefit us like because we need some easy fixes and what have you. But I think one of the problems, cousin, is when they build the levee. I think it's the Army Corps of Engineers.
Army Corps of Engineers. Yeah.
They built that levee down there. It was a task because of how low that territory is.
Right.
But they did not build it properly, and they realized after the Katrina hit, after the cleanup and what have you, they began to examine the levees and realize that's the Army Corps made a mistake. And so what they did was they tried to sue the Army Corps, but the Army Corps have a protection on them. Well, you can't sue them. Okay, you can't. Now, of course, this is going to help all of the theorists out there and one in this radio station.
It's more, you know what, to be honest with you, it's more than a
There's one here.
conspiracy theory. If you think about the whole situation in the Middle East, the reason why the Middle East is always in play is because of cheap oil.
Yeah.
All right, because of cheap oil and because we are led to believe that we have an infinite amount of oil on this planet, there's always exploration because of the oil companies in places that are not really safe to produce oil.
Right.
Let's think about what oil is. All oil is a giant graveyard. Mm-hmm. It's the decomposition of plant and animal matter under pressure.
Right.
That cooks the oil.
Oh, yeah. Like gold.
Yeah. Like a matter of fact, a lot of people, you think about the history of the United States and people like Rockefeller and Ford. In the early part of the history of the United States, we did not have automobiles.
Right.
We were horse-drawn and mules and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And our major interest in oil was because of kerosene for lighting and for heating. All right, so Rockefeller, his main thing was producing oil products. Gasoline was a byproduct of petroleum production. Gasoline was really the trash of petroleum.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So was Vaseline.
They were looking for a cheap. For example, when inventors of the automobile was looking for something to power and lubricate the gas combustion engine, they looked at gasoline because it was at a stable molecular structure where they can contain a pressure explosion in the engine and control it. All right, so they took the trash of oil production and made something that they could use for cars. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at the history of the United States was basically all rails. And they transported oil for kerosene because the United States used kerosene to light and heat their homes from coast to coast. So you had oil fields in Ohio and in Pennsylvania where Rockefeller made all of his fortune. And just like we were talking about Carnegie the other day, Carnegie made his fortune through steel production because they needed rails for railroads.
That's right.
Okay, so oil production is major, and that's the reason why I'm mentioning that. The only reason why we're actually exploring and insisting on drilling for oil in the Gulf Coast region is because we have a major Jones for oil. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have no use for oil, there would be no oil exploration in the coastal region. For example, like the whole BP incident. It ruined all the fisheries up and down the Gulf region of the United States because oil production, if you
they found it in the water.
The amount of money it takes to bring that oil out of the sea so that we could use it, they have determined that it's cheap enough for the oil companies to make their profit. But oil, to make a long story short, oil is poison. Oil is just like cocaine and crack. Right. Until we come up with something that's sustainable
and cleaner,
that's something that is renewable.
Yeah.
Well, Brother Rogers, I have to tell you, they have, but the powers that be don't want to give up control because they have not learned how to manipulate it. I mean, they've learned how to run cars on French fry oil and olive oil. They've learned how to run cars on water and hydrofuel. Mm-hmm. And you see,
and also, like for example, one reason why the economy of Brazil is so good is because they have mastered renewable fuels. Mm-hmm. That most of the fuels in Brazil are made by garbage.
Sure. And all of the potential of clean fuel is right here in the United States.
That's right.
And then we got what's called fracking. Is it fracking or fracking?
Fracking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now, I think all of this goes back to the Louisiana Purchase. Okay. Yeah. That's what it really is. Mm-hmm. And we expanded from that one purchase. We expanded westward. The United States through, I think it was President Andrew Jackson, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But you're not safe nowhere.
Shyster.
I remember having a vision, and I told this on the show before. I was driving down the Dan Ryan Expressway here in Chicago, and the traffic was so tight we had to stop on the expressway, and I saw those buildings downtown crumble, and I saw the ground just break up right up under my car, and I was like, what is this? And I told the story to somebody. They said, well, that won't happen here because where we are, we're not on that
We're
rock.
sitting right on the fault line.
The fault line, all this stuff. I said, you know what? I said, that's the deception. I lived in Rapid City, South Dakota, for a few years, where they feel like they're safe from any type of destruction. And I told them, I says, y'all got to stop living in this utopia. And I was watching the History Channel one night, and it blew me away that they says, and the town of Rapid City, and they says there is a gas, a natural gas that's up under that city, that at the right climate, at the right time, can explode and level that city. This was on the History Channel. All right, and I'm sitting like, I was blown away, and I had to tell my pastor about it, Bishop Lorenzo Kelly. I don't know if you know him from South Dakota. Yeah, he was just in town a couple of days ago. And I showed it to him, and he almost fainted. He says, I've been telling my churches for years that because y'all think we're in the real, because that's the real Midwest, y'all. Chicago's not really the Midwest. South Dakota is the real Midwest.
It is.
And he says, I've been trying to tell y'all this. He says, Elder Jones found a documentary on the TV, on the History Channel. And he played it for the people and let them see, and they were amazed. They're like, this is up under us? He said, yeah. I don't care what city you are in the United States, you are not safe.
You are not safe.
Okay? Now help us with maybe, give me about 5 minutes, brother, because what you've done is you've changed the whole programming here on my show, because I had other things planned.
Well, I try to do what I can.
Yeah, I had other things planned, but the Lord had you to call. Now, maybe you can make some sense of the whole Tornado Alley, because, that's where we sit. And this is the 25th anniversary of Plainfield, Illinois, being almost leveled in itself, okay? This happened in 1990, I believe it was, all right? We call it Tornado Alley. Is there something... barometric pressure and all these things is happening, that it happens. And why do you think they call it the Tornado Alley? And why does it happen here? A tornado here, but hurricane there in the Atlantic area.
Right.
That was the question.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you was going to break or what.
I'm breaking to you.
If you think about, there is no difference between a cyclone and a hurricane.
Right.
It's all of where it happens. Like, for example, in Southeast Asia, you have cyclones and typhoons. In the Atlantic Ocean, you have hurricanes. Well, in the plains area, you have tornadoes.
Right.
Because those are flatlands. And it's all barometric pressure. Like, for example, one of the reasons why we have monsoon season in Arizona is because of the pressure in the Gulf Coast region around in Mexico, the Baja region of Mexico. Low barometric pressure causes a jet stream that brings the hot air into the middle part of the United States. And there's no secret why they call it an alley, because during Tornado Alley season, which is usually during the months of July, August, and September,
right,
places like Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Illinois, all those are susceptible to tornadoes because it's mostly flatland,
right,
prairie land, things of that nature, because that pressure has to go somewhere.
Got to go somewhere.
And when the pressure goes somewhere, you have a churning of the air. The whole thing that the earth is not a vacuum. The earth is under pressure. Our atmosphere is a pressurized atmosphere. That's the only reason why we're able to even breathe on this planet. That's the reason why, the Bible is true when it says a fool has said in his heart that there is no
Lord,
God.
have mercy.
Because, the way this thing is designed, it had to be an entity there to have to put it together.
Yes.
It's no accident.
Yes.
We have a system that is developed where it takes care of pressure that is created from the tectonic plates. Like, even, for example, the reason why you have, a lot of people don't realize that you have volcanic eruptions in the middle of the sea. That's because the surface crust of the earth is moving.
Hawaii.
Hawaii,
the surface crust of the earth, you have fault lines in the sea. And as hot magma comes up from the center of the earth and is cooled by water, The shift, it shifts the tectonic plates in the ocean, and they're constantly creating. That's the reason why you constantly have islands in the Pacific that are being created because of the magma that comes up from the sea and cooled by ocean waters. But the fact that the tectonic plates are constantly moving, that's the reason why you have earthquakes in diverse places. A lot of people don't realize Chicago, Illinois is sitting on a fault line.
Yep.
I have, when I was living in Chicago, and our house was on Madison and Jackson and Cicero.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's a fault line.
Down, and all of a sudden the ground got
that's a social criminal. That's a fault line.
That's a fault line.
And so when I experienced that, I kind of investigated, and I remember, and I found out that Illinois, there is a major fault line.
Yeah.
All right. Now, also, you're talking about South Dakota. There's a major political issue in the United States, and it's part of our political election cycle for president. They want to build a oil pipeline, get oil from Canada across the middle of the United States. You're talking about the Dakotas, North and South Dakota, all the way down Colorado, Ohio. That pipeline is supposed to go from the north borders of the United States all the way to the Gulf region of the United States to bring that cheap oil, and it's supposed to be a dirty variety of oil that's up there. And if you think about what oil is, it's no secret that it is dirty because it's all it is dead dinosaurs, plant life, and things of that nature under pressure. And they want that oil so bad that they want to, the oil companies like Halliburton, they want to get that cheap oil from California, from Canada, and to be able to transfer that oil. And they say it's supposed to produce so many jobs, but it's not true. It's only temporary jobs. So in other words, they'll hire all these people to build this pipeline and then lay them off. They'll lay them off from the northern part of the United States all the way to the southern.
Sound like you're going through an earthquake right now.
Yeah, you're going through a tunnel. Yeah, you.
That's my cheap phone. Hey, Lisa, go get my other phone.
Yeah, go get his other phone.
Go get my other phone.
Yeah. You got 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes.
It's very interesting that I forgot what the name of that pipeline is supposed to be.
It's probably called Carter or Alvin or something.
And
it's the Keystone Line.
Really blame
Keystone.
President Obama.
He ain't hear me.
It's the Keystone Pipeline.
The pipeline?
Keystone. You know the street over there by where you used to live?
That's it, the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah.
Right over by where you used to live.
That's right.
Pennsylvania is the Keystone State.
That's right. Sure is.
Mm-hmm. And that's where, a lot of people think that a lot of oil production is in Texas and Arizona and places like that, New Mexico. No. The major part of oil production in the United States is in Pennsylvania, Ohio.
Yeah.
The Dakota area.
That's right.
That's where we get most of our oil.
Come on, Doc.
Quite a bit here, too. Mm-hmm. And they've discovered a huge oil deposit in the middle of Lake Michigan. And they have been fighting over whether or not.
I'm going to have to create a collection to get me some better phones.
Yeah. Yeah, good stuff. Paul Rogers, man, you just gave us a wonderful history. My goodness, you spent about
straight out of Chicago public schools.
Straight out of public school.
High school.
Harlan.
Well, how you in?
I always say if they didn't want me to know, they never should have taught me to read.
I love it. That'll preach right there, bro.
Yeah,
that'll preach. That's what they were trying to do.
You die from a lack of knowledge.
Yes, sir.
They perish.
That's right. What else?
Everything fits together in history and in geology and in chemistry and biology, even meteorology. Everything in this world fits so closely together.
So do, bro.
And it's by a design of the Creator.
Yes.
And if you don't believe in God, really something is wrong with your brain.
Something wrong with you.
because you have to be a fool to not know that these things are
you
put
retarded.
together.
That's true. That is so true. Paul Rogers, get off my phone, man.
All right, man.
Hey,
Get a new phone.
Yeah, go to Walmart and get you.
Keep it on. Cousin.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you for your support.
No more rotary dial phones.
No more
Yeah.
rotary dial. All right, love you, cousin. Yeah, man, that was. Whew, I wasn't ready for that.
No, but that's good.
That was great. That was good information that we needed to know, because all that he just said ties into the scriptures that we're going to read today. Because y'all think, well, how's that? What does God have to do in any of that? Well, he's called. Let's break it up. He's omniscient.
Mm-hmm.
But the word is a dual word.
Yes.
It's a compound.
It has a prefix and a suffix. Compound word.
Mm-hmm. Omni means what?
Omni, ultimate, all.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And science, what is that?
Science or shint.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Shint. So that's one of the three stooges.
Yeah,
but, what's science?
The study of.
The study of. So
he's the study of all.
He's the study of all.
Knowing.
Absolutely. So when they're digging in the ground looking for archaeological,
and what they discovered, he already knew.
He already knew
because he put it there.
And what they discovered is they discovered him, and that's God. So all this stuff can be explained through him. And now, is he responsible for it? Partly because he created it. Now, but is he the one that's stirring it up? Well, we're going back to dispensation. It's all a progression, and we'll talk about this after this break. I do want to spend. I'll give a little time to the Emmett Till story. This file I have here is only a couple of minutes long, but it is the untold story of Emmett Lewis Till. Man, a tragic story. We all know about it. But it played itself out right here in Chicago, right up the street.
Right down yonder.
Right down yonder at the original Church of God in Christ.
40th
and State. Yep. That's it. And that's the name it had.
For years, they ain't had no name.
They had no name. 40th and State. Now remember, Bishop L.H. Ford, I believe he was one of the officiators of that funeral. 1955, y'all. It was a very good year, and it was a bad one because shortly after his death, what's her name decided not to get off the bus, get out of the seat.
Rosa.
Yeah, she decided, nope, I can't take this no more, and that kicked off that whole
death always spawns life.
Yes, it does. It really do.
Chicken die that I might live.
Sarge Jones Show.
Emmett was the happiest baby in the world.
Emmett was mischievous.
We had fun together. We laughed together.
He had no sense of danger. Everything was funny to him.
They always kind of prep you for going to Mississippi. And I don't know if Emmett was told or not.
Mrs. Bryant came out of the store. That's when Emmett whistled at her.
Yes, he whistled at Carolyn Bryant when she came out of the store.
Sunday morning, about 2:30, there was a man with a pistol, and he said, "I want the boy from Chicago."
I knew they weren't going to bring him back.
It was a terrifying experience.
The sheriff told me they had found the body.
One of the most barbaric atrocities committed against a child in the history of mankind.
Oh, my God. Oh, yes, we're going to open the casket. Let the people see what I see.
We never have any trouble until some of our southern niggas go up north and NAACP talks to them and they come back home.
Oh, yeah. He stood up, pointed his finger, said, "That's him."
God is watching. Not guilty.
Oh, yeah.
Emmett was the catalyst that started the civil rights movement.
If it can further the cause of freedom, then I will say that he died a hero.
He is watching. She made America deal with its ugly racial problem.
He whistled at a white woman and ended up dead at the bottom of a river. Now, nearly 50 years later, a film called The Untold Story of Emmett Lewis Till helped reopen his case.
We owe it to Emmett Till.
God is watching.
We owe it to his mother. We owe it to ourselves.
The following show is paid programming and does not necessarily express the views and opinions of Urban Broadcast Media and its subsidiaries.
Thank you for listening to UBM Praise.
Friday.
The Untold Story of Emmett Till. It's a trailer. It's an old show, but I just want to play a little bit of it just to bring you to, again, I'm educating those of you who don't watch the news. You got to turn on my station so that you can get some news by Friday. We'll go to scripture in a minute, but I do want to bring awareness to this Plainfield, Illinois tornado. Okay, we'll play this file and come back, and just want to get my files out of the way because my cousin Paul Rogers came in here and just messed up my whole program. Just destroyed everything. I can't do nothing now.
Show people.
Yeah, now I got to write a check and send them an offering for all this education.
So you can get a new phone.
So you get a new phone. Get on my nerves. Educating us like that. Yeah, let's go to A. Britt. This is called Remembering Plainfield Tornado 25 years later.
What we worry about this time of year is severe weather, including tornadoes. Now, we've had 166 just in the month of August since 1955, including a massive EF5 that ripped through Plainfield 25 years ago tomorrow. Meteorologist Tammy Souza takes a look at what we've learned since then.
Bill, not only was this the only EF5 rated tornado in Chicago history, it is also the only EF5 tornado to strike in the month of August nationwide. The 16-mile path of death and destruction brought Plainfield to its knees, but survivors want everyone to know they are stronger than ever, and with advances in weather technology, they expect more lives to be saved in the future.
This is the most violent. I wish you could see this. Jeez.
You're looking at the only known video of the Plainfield tornado as it developed, and this is what it did in less than 3 minutes. 470 homes and businesses destroyed, another 1,000 homes damaged, and 29 lives lost. They had no warning, no sirens, just an eerie sky.
The sky was such a grayish green.
It just turns green, like a green like I've never seen before.
The sky was just black as black could be coming towards us.
Barb Perignon recalls how she and her husband raced to their son just as the tornado leveled his high school. Bricks fell around them as they pulled out survivors and recovered 2 of the dead, but no sign of their son.
We didn't know where he was. I was frantic. I just, when the building collapses, you hope it's not yours and hope nobody gets hurt. And when I couldn't find him, it was just unnerving and just very frightening.
Later that night, word came. Her son was alive, but injured and taken to a hospital. They finally saw him the next day. As the tornado ripped through town, Robert Zimmerman watched the building around him fall apart.
And things started banging and booming, and the lights went out, and then pretty soon I felt like I was doing levitation because I went up about 3 or 4 feet, and I had nothing to grab onto, and then it was over and it dropped me.
He survived, but his neighborhood did not.
The house directly behind you, there, and all the way down the street.
What was left of his life was featured on the front page of the New York Times. What still haunts him most is the sound.
Go out to a airfield and stick your head on the end of a jet engine and listen to that scream.
For 10-year-old Patrick McCraney, life changed in an instant.
It was the day before I was supposed to go to 5th grade. I remember my mom yelling to my sister and I out in the pool, get inside, get inside. Just then the hail starts, and it's just wreckage everywhere. And I just remember thinking, my God, the town's destroyed. It's all gone.
After the tornado, this Doppler radar was installed at the National Weather Service. And today's advanced technology could have saved lives in 1990.
The state-of-the-art lead time for tornado warnings today is 13 minutes, and that's far better than it was in 1990 before we had the Doppler radar technology. The fact of the matter is Chicago is vulnerable to these powerful tornadoes. The tall buildings downtown are not going to protect us. The lake is not going to protect us.
Something survivors of the Plainfield tornado already know.
We react a little differently if we pay attention. When I hear that siren, I'm heading for the basement.
We all need more than one way to get those all-important warnings. You at home have plenty of choices, including smartphone alerts, weather apps, Twitter, NOAA weather alert radios, and of course, right here on your television sets. Bill, back to you.
All right, Tammy, a special ceremony to mark the 25th anniversary of the Plainfield tornado will take place tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the Tornado Memorial on Fort Beggs.
Yeah, that's a lot of lives. 29. I think it said 470 homes destroyed in that territory there. And
I remember that.
Yeah, I do too. And Plainsville is not a little neighborhood. Okay, I've been there through there. Beautiful homes in Plainsville. Good.
And
Lord.
they're rebuilding, they're recovering well.
Absolutely. Right quick, let's go to scripture. Annette going to kind of do some reading here because she reads better than me. Can we go to Matthew 24 and maybe start at verse 3, see if we can break it down right quick. Break it down.
Okay.
Break.
NLT version?
Yeah, that's fine. Turn the mic up. You up?
I'm up. I don't know if the mic is.
Thank you.
Okay. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives.
Yeah.
His disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will all this happen?"
Yeah. Sometimes you got to go to the Lord by yourself. Don't be questioning him in front of everybody because, well, that's another show. Go ahead.
What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?
Yeah, tell us the deep thoughts about what's going on. If people say don't question God, did these men not just question Jesus? Sure did.
Jesus told them.
And then he answered.
Don't let anyone mislead you. For many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah.
Yeah, there's a lot of pastors who come in and saying the same thing. Yeah, go ahead.
They will deceive many.
Yeah.
And you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't panic.
Yeah. So Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Vietnam, all those wars, we've been hearing about them, and they came. Then we're hearing about rumors with Russia. He said, don't worry about that. What?
Don't panic.
Don't panic.
Yes, these things must take place.
Yeah, they got to happen.
But the end won't follow immediately.
Yeah, not yet.
Nation will go to war against nation.
Okay, that's been happening.
And kingdom against kingdom.
So that's church against church. That's religion against religion. That's let's see. That's ethnos against ethnos, which is black against white, and then you've got that word that's that basilica against basilica or basilia. Yeah, go ahead.
There will be famines
and
earthquakes.
Yeah.
In many parts of the world.
I'm hungry now.
I know you are.
I'm about to make the
Yeah. So the end is there now.
But all this is only the first of the birth pains.
Oh.
With more to come.
Birth pains. We pregnant.
Ooh.
The United States is. Yeah. More to come. Keep going.
Then you will be arrested.
Wow.
Persecuted and killed.
Wow.
You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers.
All right. So we're pretty much going into the tribulation there. But what I'm going to do is go to Luke 13, if you can. Annette Harris, Esquire.
What?
Yeah.
Escort.
Go Luke 13, because Jesus had to address a calamity that happens with some people that he was talking to. And we try to, because people are overly spiritualizing why stuff like Katrina happens, like the hurricane or the tornado in Plainsville happened, and a lot of other stuff that's been going on.
Which chapter?
13, Luke 13. Start at 1 and see if Jesus addresses this. Because sometimes the answer is not received. Yeah. Should have gave you this stuff earlier, shouldn't I?
Yes, you should have.
Because, dead is.
Luke 13
these computers ain't as fast as pages.
No, they're not.
Luke 13 and 1.
Yeah.
About this time, Jesus was informed that Pilate had murdered some people from Galilee as they were offering sacrifices at the temple. Is that what you want?
Yeah, Luke 13, right?
Okay.
1.
Do you think...
Okay, say it again.
Okay. About this time, Jesus was informed that Pilate had murdered some people from Galilee.
Gotcha.
As they were offering sacrifices at the temple. Do you think those Galileans were worse sinners than all the other people from Galilee? Jesus asked. Is that why they suffered? Not at all.
Wow.
And you will perish too, unless you repent of your sins and turn to God.
So he answered or didn't answer the question? Keep going.
And what about the 18 people who died when the tower in Siloam fell on them?
Okay.
Were they the worst sinners in Jerusalem?
Were they?
No.
Nope.
And I tell you again that unless you repent,
Mhm.
you will perish too.
That was Jesus' answer. He said, why are you worried about why these people had the catastrophe that happened to them? Don't worry about that. You need to worry about your soul.
See.
Yeah, he says, so you overly spiritualize and stuff. Because you know that
people do that all the time.
Yes. Remember the blind man? It says, are you blind? He said,
was it your fault or your mama's fault? Somebody did
something
for
you to be blind. Yeah, and that's what they believe. The Jews believe that something you did. And I know Christians today who believe that because something happened to you, Alvin Carter, whether you got cancer, whether even a common cold, that's something you did. God's punishing you.
Yeah, I went outside wet.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So we look at a hurricane, a tornado. God's trying to tell America, shh, God is talking. He's trying to tell America that they should not have sinned against Bathsheba. Really? I'm sitting on a fault line. And it's my fault that I'm sitting on that line.
Yeah.
Okay, I should not. You heard what Paul Rogers said. We're building in areas we should not have been building.
Yeah. But it looked appealing, and it was able to sell.
Look at how we build.
This is a nation full of shysters and businessmen.
Yeah. So. Oh man. Yeah. And Jeremiah Wright says they're coming back to roost.
Chickens
come back to roost.
Well, Malcolm X said that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think he was quoting Malcolm X when he said it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but this article says why does God allow earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, typhoons? Buffoon over here on my right. Cyclones, mudslides.
Talking about you,
man. No, I'm not on
wildfires.
Right,
you don't know it's right from left.
And other disasters.
Looking in the mirror.
Right. Tragedies cause many people to question God's goodness. It is a distressing that natural disasters are often termed acts of God.
Right.
While no credit is given to God for years, decades, or even centuries of peaceful weather.
Oh no,
yes.
They don't. No.
That's a very good point.
Nobody acknowledge God till they think he mad at them.
He mad at them. That's perfect. God created the whole universe and the laws of nature. Genesis 1:1. Most natural disasters are a result of these laws at work. Hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes are the results of divergent weather patterns colliding, as Paul Rogers graciously, he just brought out some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And earthquakes are the result of the Earth's plate structure shifting. Remember the plate tectonic?
Plate tectonics.
Yeah, and all this stuff. Because I believe that all territories were one. I think we call it.
It's a fact. It's called Pangea.
Yeah. It was before the Earth division.
Yeah, it's Pangea. That was the landmass. It was called Pangea. That was the name of it. And they have evidence of it because on each of the coastal shores, you'll see either the same type of species or very similar species.
That's right.
And when you look at it on the map, you'll see like a puzzle how they all fit together.
Absolutely. And
except for some of the islands in the ocean that are volcanic cooled land.
You go to the islands of the Galapagos, I think they call it. The
Galapagos.
Yeah, help us out, Brittany. Galapagos. Okay.
Galapagos Islands.
Yeah. Darwin went over there and got deceived. All right. And this is
because he thought it was Hawaii over there, Galapagos.
Yeah. And I think, and again,
I should have made that right turn at Albuquerque.
But yeah, and Satan has his hand in it as well as God has his hands in it. Okay, and what I mean by that is,
okay, I was going to say, clarify, please.
Yes, God created everything, and there was nothing made except He made it. That's what John says, right? Okay, Satan says, "I'm going to take what God made and I'm going to deceive man with it." All right, I'm gonna make it cloudy where he thinks one thing and it's not there. So he used Darwin. I believe that Darwin is definitely a seed of Satan. Okay, in a sense, because Darwin went to school, went there to be a preacher. Okay,
he later recanted.
Yeah, now that's later, but he went there. And now watch this. He really didn't go there because he really wanted to be. His parents encouraged him to go. Okay. We talked about 95 to 100% of those who commit mass murders are the ones who, as a child, they played with animals, cut them up, dissected them, threw them downstairs. Okay, they were very violent towards animals. Darwin was one of them. As a kid, he used to play with animals and then take a knife and kill them and then dissect them, trying to figure out what's going on. So as he got older, he took a trip to the Galapagos, and he realized all those islands, because they're different islands, and it's the only territory in the world, they're saying, that's like that, because he saw a turtle on one island that was different than the turtle on the other island, that was different from the turtle on the other. And then he looked at those little finches, those birds, and he noticed the beak on one island different than the beak. He says, there is no God. There can't be. Because God would not confuse us like this. This was from his words. I'm not
confused?
Mm-hmm.
Why would he consider that confused when I, just listening to that, would see it as his vastness and his diversity, his universality?
That's why I say that the greatest deception. Yeah. And then you guys take his theory and you force your children to have to study it. Okay? Now, again, we kind of sidetracked here because it's spinning off. I spinned off of what you said earlier. I can't remember what you said earlier.
So how you gonna blame me?
Can you rewind the tape right quick, Brittany? No. She said no.
You should see her face.
Absolutely. Okay, so the whole world is affected. And did I give you the next? Oh, I gave you. Did you finish that, Luke?
Yes, I did.
You did. Okay, but here where you got to go. You got to go to Romans chapter 8. Go to Romans chapter 8 and start at maybe verse 12. Okay, because this might help us a little bit here.
Therefore, dear brothers and sisters, you have no obligation to do what your sinful nature urges you to do.
Uh-oh.
For if you live by its dictates, you will die.
Yeah.
But if through the power of the Spirit you put to death the deeds of your sinful nature, you will live.
Wow.
For all who are led by the Spirit of God are children of God.
I'm a son.
Yeah. I like sons better than children.
Me too. Come on, children.
So you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves. Instead, you received God's Spirit when he adopted you as his own children.
Oh, read that again.
So you have not received a spirit that makes you fearful slaves.
Because they're using religion to enslave you.
So they say.
So they say. And so it works.
To some.
To some it does work.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Jim Jones got y'all drink Kool-Aid. He used religion.
I like Kool-Aid.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? Keep going.
Instead, you received God's Spirit when he adopted you.
His Spirit. And then he adopted you.
And that's the difference between religion and relationship.
Thank you, sir. Okay, keep going.
Now we call him Abba Father.
He Abba. I like Abba. I like Yahweh. I like those terms.
I like the group Abba, too.
The Abba. Yeah, Abba's all right. Yeah. They just don't know how to write a B. They just write it backwards for some reason. Yeah, keep going. Y'all will get that later.
For his spirit joins with our spirit.
And they put two B's there. They like, you know what? We're going to put one backwards behind the other one because we just don't know.
They didn't want to be stealing from the Bible.
That's right. Go ahead.
For his spirit joins with our spirit to affirm that we are God's children.
Yes.
And since we are his children, we are his heirs. In fact.
What?
Together with Christ.
What joint?
We are heirs of God's glory.
That's a joint. We are joint, y'all. That's my joint. Go ahead.
But
combined,
if we are to share his glory,
yes, sir,
we must also share his suffering.
Oh, so we don't want to suffer. That's the problem. No. It's all about prosperity preaching. That's all it is. No suffering whatsoever. What a shame. Keep going.
Yet, what we suffer now is nothing.
Oh, my goodness.
Compared to the glory he will reveal to us later.
So those of you who are suffering now, you think that now that maybe, you went to the doctor, you got healed a little bit, and you're thinking, man, I haven't felt this way in a long time. Thank you, God. You think that's some healing? Wait till glory comes.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine.
I can only imagine.
Keep going.
For all creation is waiting eagerly for that future day when God will reveal who his children really are.
All creation. Everything he created is waiting, including the birds. Yeah.
Against its will, all creation was subjected to God's curse.
So the creation was cursed. That's what we have. Tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, typhoons, cyclones, mudslides, wildfires, Alvin Carter, tragedies.
Wow.
Oh, wait, did I put his name in there? Keep going.
But with eager hope,
the
creation looks forward to the day when it will join God's children in glorious freedom from death and decay.
No more death or decay. Yeah. No more teeth falling out. Keep going.
For we know that all creation
Yes.
has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth.
Birth pains.
Right up to the present time.
That's why we're having these catastrophes, because the earth is groaning.
And you can hear it.
You can hear it.
You can hear it.
Absolutely. You pay close attention, especially at night. Just
In the stillness of the night, you
can hear. What is that? That's the earth crying. It's groaning. It's in pain. And that baby is kicking. Lord have mercy. Yeah.
Braxton Hicks.
Braxton Hicks.
You don't know about that.
Keep going.
When them bones start spreading.
Yo, I know
And
that.
we
Ooh.
believers also groan.
The earth is dilating about 6 centimeters. Hallelujah.
Ooh, it's enlarging itself.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Y'all
Go
feeling
for
your
it.
help?
Are we feeling this thing? No.
Even though we have the Holy Spirit within us as a foretaste of future glory.
A foretaste.
For we long for our bodies to be released from sin and suffering.
So we longing, y'all. The Bible proclaims that Jesus Christ holds all the nature together. That's Colossians 1:16. So could God prevent natural disasters?
Yeah, he can.
Absolutely. Does God sometimes influence the weather?
Yeah.
Yes, he does. As we see in Deuteronomy 11:17. All right? And James 5:17. Y'all can write those down.
Yeah.
And Numbers 16:30. It shows us that God sometimes causes disasters as judgment against sin.
That Bible.
So I just shut up the other part of y'all saying, see, Brett Jones, you mean tell me God ain't got his hand in it? Yeah, I just showed you. I gave you 3. The book of Revelation describes many events which could definitely be described as natural disasters. When we get to the tribulation, God will have his hand in all that. And Satan. God's going to release Satan. Remember in Job? Remember what happened? Because the next question is, does Satan have his hand in it? Okay.
Whatever God allows him to get this.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely.
Sometimes he'll say, you know what? You so mean and evil. You can do it better than me. Go ahead. Have at it.
Have at it. Yeah.
Just go and tear that region up.
Tear it up.
It just because see, I'll enjoy restoring it and beautifying it. Because the former days will be better than the latter.
Absolutely. So
the latter will be greater than the past.
Right. So can we emphatically say that God used Katrina, or let's see, I have a
He can use anything or anybody.
Yes, he
and
can.
He has.
Yes, he can.
He used you.
Yeah, he used me.
Even after you've been misused.
He used me. You got Hurricane Diana, Hurricane Klaus, Bob, Hurricane Andrew.
Wait a minute, hold on. They named some hurricanes after men?
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Bob.
Yeah, there have been.
Yep, Bob happened in 1990, October 3rd.
Okay, never mind. Even years.
Maryland.
Even years of men and odd years of women. Okay.
Roxanne, Hurricane Caesar. Roxanne. Fran, Hortense, George, Mitch, Floyd,
Francis.
Lenny. There's a Hurricane Lenny. And trust me, Lenny
he
had a long jacket on. But yeah, well, Lenny cost them $686 million.
I can't destroy it. Ain't nothing going to do it.
All right, Lenny.
Plenty. I got caught in Hurricane Francis.
Did you really, Francis?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
And on a cruise ship.
Wow.
Thank the Lord I was on a cruise ship.
What year was that?
Airport.
What was this?
2000. Was it 2003?
Okay, let me find it here.
Hurricane Francis.
You got Keith, you got Allison, Iris, Michelle, Isidore, Lily, Fabian, Isabel, Juan, Charlie, Francis.
There it is.
August 24.
Yep.
Till September 10th, 2004.
Oh, 2004. Okay.
It was a Category 4.
Yep.
Wiped out 50 people. It cost $9.85 billion.
Yep, I was caught up in that. We was out there on a cruise ship.
It said hitting the Caribbean, Eastern United States, and Ontario.
Best time of my life.
Yeah, best time of your life.
Yeah.
Until Francis came.
No, after because of Francis, I had a fun time.
Really?
If Francis had been a day later, I would have been caught on land.
Wow.
Now you could feel the storm.
Sure.
And they'll show you the storm on the boat, on the ship. And you could see its location. But the closer it got inland, the further they took the ship away.
Wow.
So we were stuck at sea. It was supposed to be a 5-day cruise. It turned into a 9-day cruise. We were stuck at sea doing the figure 8 until it was safe to come in.
Wow. You know, there's a play. I remember in Egypt.
Fun time.
See, that remind me of
I sat in
Goshen. Goshen. You heard of Goshen?
Goshen, yeah, Goshen.
Yeah, Goshen is the land where the Israelites were.
Yeah,
but they were surrounded by the captive. They were captive of Egypt. All right, and they were in Canaan. They were enslaved by Egypt, but
that's what they were sending.
That's what they were sending them, and that a famine came over Egypt,
but it didn't touch Goshen.
And then the Bible says, "But in the land of Goshen,
yes,
was plenty
Plenty.
Man, they ate good, Doc.
Yeah, they did.
And all around them was catastrophe.
And that's the blessing of it, because
Yes.
had some people were given the option
Mhm.
to disembark the ship when we were in one of the islands.
Mhm.
I said, no, I'm staying on the boat. You know, my wife said, okay, we'll stay.
Wow.
I said, I'd rather be stuck on this cruise ship than in an airport.
Yes.
Or paying
Uh-huh.
all this extra money at a
Mhm.
hotel. But see, at the
Mhm.
cruise ship, I
Mhm.
got all the amenities. It was
Mhm.
plenty.
See.
Plenty.
Lord
All the
have
food
mercy.
I wanted to eat,
Lord have
all
mercy.
the entertainment I
You
wanted to
was in
provide.
Goshen.
I was
Mhm.
in Goshen.
Yes, you were. Yes, sir.
I had 3 full prime ribs that week because the food had to be given away, otherwise it's spoiled. See that? See, a catastrophe to some is a blessing to others.
Yeah.
Because the ground is always tilled and stirred.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised what happens when roots and trees are uprooted. The rich soil comes to the surface.
Yeah, you better preach. Now, okay, I got 2 preachers, and Paul and I already preached. Now, your turn.
Oh, he taught.
Yeah.
Hey, Shabba Bo shop.
Who was that?
There's a storm out.
We did the tongues
the
yesterday.
ocean.
We did the tongues yesterday. He was going, hi, yeah, hi.
No.
Yeah, that was Sid Roth. So Hurricane Ivan.
I like him too.
Hurricane Gene, Hurricane Dennis, then Hurricane Katrina, August 23 through August 30th, 2005, wiped out 1,800 people. All right, $108 billion.
That was a catastrophe.
That was huge.
Because the hurricane didn't wipe the people out. It was the poor evacuation plan and the hatred of people.
Yes.
The hatred of the people who would not let them cross that bridge. They actually shot at them, tell them, you can't come over
You
here.
can't come over here. Oh, yeah, brother.
I saw that bridge. I drove over that bridge. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, well, you got Mike Brown. What's his name? Michael Brown says, stop blaming me for Hurricane Katrina. You remember Michael Brown, the FEMA guy?
Oh, yeah.
He said, it says, I had I left the Federal Emergency Management Agency in the spring of 2005, my life would be very different today. And as I really wish, in retrospect, that I had. But after the 2004 hurricane season, when FEMA excellent responses to Hurricane Charlie, Francis, Ivan, Gene in Florida were widely praised, the White House Chief of Staff, Andy Card, persuaded me to stay on as director through the 2005 hurricane season. I didn't want to disappoint President George Bush. We developed a good relationship. He said, heck, he even gave me a nickname called Brownie. And I remember that they high-fiving each other. Said, you're doing a great job, Brownie. While your people were over there at the stadium, no food, no water, no running toilets.
And that place was huge. You had the convention center, and then you had, which was huge, and then the Metrodome.
Yes.
I mean, the Superdome.
The Superdome.
Which is extremely huge.
It was, absolutely.
And if you go there and see it, it puts it in context of the disaster and the danger of that city, because it's basically one way in, one way out.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to give you an example of the visual. You know how high the Dan Ryan Expressway is once you pass Comiskey and you're going up the turn headed toward downtown, right before the 16th Street exit.
Sure.
That's how high the water was.
Yes.
That's the highway that they saw on television that was flooded. Now, it was higher than that because their expressway was higher. When you see how much land was underwater.
Now, that is high. And those of you who live in Chicago, remember the old Marlboro sign right there? That big Marlboro sign, because they don't... Well, the
that was
sign's
around
still
the
there.
spaghetti bowl when they just the smoke used to come out.
But that's high.
Yes, about as high as that sign now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
About that
and
average.
we have pictures on Facebook. You'll see the catastrophe. But go to D, Brittany, because we're not gonna do a break. It's 5:30. Why people consider Hurricane Katrina an act of God? Let's play that right quick.
Earthquakes, volcanoes, and hurricanes. What do they all have in common? Well, aside from the obvious, they are all natural disasters. There is another thread that unites these events: our reaction to them. When it comes to natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina, there are two camps. Those who see the event as an extreme weather or geological phenomenon, and those who believe that it is an act of God. For many people, living through an earthquake or typhoon can strengthen their religious faith. Psychologists think that it's because our minds naturally try and seek some kind of explanation for what is happening around us. One expert said, when we hear a crashing sound, we expect to see a falling tree. When phenomena are both unexpected and unexplainable, such as the suffering wrought by an earthquake, religious believers conclude that the only agent who can cause such an event to occur must be God. Attributing natural phenomenon to God goes back to the earliest days of most major religions, and there are examples in Judaism, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. Unfortunately, the more fundamental view, that some natural disasters are some form of divine retribution, is pretty common too. The idea that a god would send floods or cause lava to spew from a volcano in order to punish people is one that has persisted into modern times. After Hurricane Katrina, one reverend commented on New Orleans saying, "This is one wicked city. It's known for Mardi Gras, for Satan worship. There's been a black spiritual cloud over New Orleans for years. God is going to use that storm to bring a revival." Critics argue that some religious groups push the idea of a divine retribution because it's a way to gain power over victims and to reinforce their religious doctrine. Thankfully, there are many religious figureheads who don't share this victim-shaming view. As one bishop said after the Nepal earthquake in April 2015, such disasters are just a natural process of life and nature. It should not be taken as punishment from God for humanity. For many believers, religion can offer comfort, especially at a time when everything you know has been lost in an instant. According to the UN, after the Nepal earthquake, 2 million people were in need of tents, water, food, and medicine, but many also requested a place of worship. And while there was still a fair share of people who were part of the fear-mongering religious groups, there were thousands more who held candlelight prayers in the ruins of Nepal's temples to remember victims, as well as to offer hope and support for those who survived.
And notice that she's saying here is that use these catastrophes to help the people. And don't be, kicking a person while they're down, pretty much.
Yes.
Look at those people. See, they was over there doing witchcraft and voodooism, and then you go back to your kitchen and go on your refrigerator and eat good and go to sleep at night. But you should be worrying.
You should be concerned.
You should be concerned, as Jesus said to those men in Galilee, you should be concerned about your soul, okay? And then try and do something about it. When Haiti happened, what was that? What hit Haiti? Was it a hurricane? Earthquake. Earthquake hit Haiti. Okay, we don't talk about Haiti today.
No,
it happened so long ago.
But the catastrophe with Haiti was plenty of help was available, but
it got caught up in bureaucracy.
And because all leadership
sure.
was destroyed. And there was people fighting for power.
Yep, that's right. And they set up those little tents. Those tents, like what was that president who set up those tents during? Two presidents did it. You had what's called the Hoover hobos back then.
Yeah.
And then Roosevelt took all of those Japanese and put them in tents and determined, if they call them something.
Internment camps.
Internment camps. Okay. It was a horrible time in my history, and then of course Andrew Jackson and others took the Indians and put them away, tried to annihilate them, and you have what's called the Trail of Tears. All right, so over there in Haiti, they have these camps where men are going through the camps and raping women by the busloads. I mean, it's a horrible situation down there. And my pastor, Bishop Carlos Moody, has set up tent down there and is building schools and homes and shelters down there for them. My church gives a lot of effort and money and body, meaning in time. I mean, they fly down there.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, sweat equity, absolutely, for Haiti. So we love Haiti. Matter of fact, a third of our church are islanders. Okay, so they have a heart for them. But I do want to play this last file here. I'll go to see Brittany. This is called "Have Storms Gotten Worse Since Hurricane Katrina?" And let's see what they have to say about this.
10 years ago on August 29th, a massive hurricane almost the size of Texas made landfall over New Orleans. As 140-mile-an-hour winds pummeled the city, storm surges smashed their levees and flooded the Big Easy. The storm was awful, and the response to it worse still. But are we going to see more storms like this in the future? Are they getting worse? Hey everyone, thanks for watching D-News Today. I'm Trace. Hurricanes, aka tropical cyclones, aka typhoons, are massive tropical storms that form over the oceans in tropical equatorial regions and then are spun out into the open ocean. They form because moist, warm air from the tropics gets pulled high into the atmosphere, where it cools, causing it to fall back to the water. This cycle starts spinning, and eventually a tropical storm results. From 1963 to 2012, half of all deaths from storms were because of storm surge, massive water pressed inland by the storm, not by wind. It goes up to 75% if you include rainfall. The deadliest in U.S. history was the Great Galveston Hurricane in 1900, when a hurricane with 156-mile-an-hour winds slammed into Texas, killing thousands. Weather services had warned beachgoers, but many ignored the warning and were lost to 15-foot storm surges that flooded the city. Using words like worse or stronger when you're describing a storm, doesn't really work. Because there are so many factors: wind speed, storm surges, precipitation, formation time, ground speed. But just to keep it simple, yeah, storms are getting worse. Why? You already know why. Because Earth is warming. Storms are all connected to heat and the movement of that heat through the atmosphere. Sea level rise creates larger storm surges, and ocean surface temperature increases add heat and moisture to the atmosphere. All of this contributes to storm worsening. But before you go and look up sea ice estimates, remember physics class. Warm water expands. The ocean is really big and molecules are really small, but when they expand even a little, there's just so much ocean that it is noticeable from space. Yes, melting glaciers can compound the problem, but like ice in a glass, they're also keeping the oceans nice and cool. The problem is we're running out of sea ice. Sea levels have already gone up between 4 and 8 inches in the last 100 years and are looking to go up as much as 36 in the next 100. According to NASA's Earth Observatory, charged with monitoring our changing planet by satellite, over the last few decades, satellite-based studies found hurricanes intensify faster today than they did in the 1980s. That extreme downpours happen 30% more often. Tropical storms are dropping 24% more rain, and there were twice as many snowstorms from 1961 to 2010 than from 1900 to 1960. In fact, precipitation has increased 76% since 1948 across the board, according to their data. That includes both rainfall and snowfall. And a 2008 study from Florida State University found hurricane wind speeds have increased 11% since the 80s. Look, temperatures have gone up, both on land and in the ocean. This means it's getting warmer and wetter. The ocean isn't a lot warmer, only about 1/3 of a degree Celsius overall. But it doesn't take that much. And if this is just 1/3 of a degree increase, imagine the problems when it goes up between 1 and 6 degrees C over the next 85 years, like the EPA says it's going to. This means even more increased winds, precipitation, storms, and so on. And it's not just about hurricanes, remember, snowstorms too. A bunch of agencies are all working on understanding storms better so that we can better predict them. But mainly it comes down to accurate climate modeling. Buoys are floating all over the ocean, satellites are watching from space, and ground stations and ships are all monitoring winds, temperatures, moisture. Every piece of this data can then be used to model storm formation. A new study from the University of Arizona came out last March, which increased forecasting accuracy by 23% in the North Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, where the worst of climate change storms are hitting. But to be honest, the best we can do is get out of the way. From 1970 to 2002, U.S. hurricanes cost $57 billion. That's more than earthquakes or human-caused disasters in the same period. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina caused more than $100 billion in damage alone. That was the 3rd deadliest hurricane to hit the United States. Lives, property, and livelihoods are all impacted, and if we do nothing, sea levels are just going to rise more, our global ice is going to melt, and like drinking warm soda, we're all going to be pretty upset. Put it.
That's something, and he said a lot.
He said a whole lot
in that file, and you have to rewind the tape those of you who are listening to Spreaker right now, you just rewind it. But those of you who listen to the live show, you can't rewind nothing right now. Okay, but notice what he said. He said that the storm surge it's what killed the people the most. The storm surge, not the wind. Okay?
Right.
And then he says the rain makes it worse. It's the water that's
it's the
killing
accumulation of water,
and not so much the wind. And it wipes out all these people. And so
because the rain the shelter protects you from the wind.
Yeah.
But the rain the water destroyed the shelters.
And
understand this. Take into account the aftermath. It's so humid and hot. Now, both of us have suffered from flooded basements. Years later, that whole town smelled like a flooded basement.
I'm sure.
From the heat and the mold accumulation. That was a horrible time.
Oh, I know. That's what a burnt house does. You could smell still the burn for a long time.
And they couldn't let people back in until it was clean enough. Not fully clean, but clean enough.
Well, here's just some 10 facts about Hurricane Katrina. Number one, the first point of the hurricane facts tells you about New Orleans. This state in U.S. is considered as one of the areas hit by the disaster. The state is included in the storm surge zone. Okay, we just talked about that. The Hurricane Katrina hitting this place can be estimated in Category 4. It comes in speed of 140 miles per hour. Whew. That's fast. Number 2, the levees failed. Okay, we talked about that. I don't have to read that. Number 3, donation. After the Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, the victims have to lose everything. They lost everything. So many people and animals were killed because of the disaster. And they talked about all those misplaced animals, okay, those pets. To alleviate this grief and sorrow, more than 70 countries in the world gave money. Kuwait, that's right, y'all. Kuwait donated $500 million for the victims.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Number 4, power of Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina, based on the world record, is placed in the 6th position of the strongest hurricane in history. In the U.S., it is regarded as the 3rd powerful hurricane ever hit land. We heard about that. Number 5, storm surge. The 5th position of the Hurricane Katrina. Facts tells us about the storm surge. When the Hurricane Katrina comes, you will see that it can form a storm surge in the height of 6 meters, or that's 20 feet. 20 feet. You talked about the expressway earlier. 20 feet. Okay. Number 6, physical damage. The physical damage is occurred based on the U.S. data. The rate came in the level of $75 billion. It is considered as the highest level of damage cost. However, in Mississippi, as well as Louisiana, the physical damage is estimated at $150 billion. Number 7, dead victim. Now we move to the 7th point of the hurricane facts. The dead number of people during the hurricane is of 1,836 people. The rate comes from the dead people in Mississippi of 238 residents, while the 1,577 people is from Louisiana. Number 8, job loss. The disaster not only killed people and caused some physical damages, it also made the people lose their jobs. Number 9, Gulf residents. The Hurricane Katrina is a powerful and is very dangerous. When it hits the region, 1 million people who lived in the Gulf must be evacuated. Most of the refugees now are poor people since they had lost everything. There's a lot of poor people there now.
Yeah.
Okay. And many of them left there, never came back.
Yes.
Okay. And they went to the neighboring state.
Some would say the blessing was some people who never would have had a chance to leave got out.
They sure did.
The other thing was many of them migrated to Houston.
Sure did.
But then they wreaked havoc in Houston.
They sure did.
Oh, and then Houston. They also went into they took their criminal ways, thinking that the same laws had happened in New Orleans.
Oops.
Oh man, 30 days and I'm out. Not there.
No, sir.
Not there.
No. They let you know.
You ever down in Texas, they gonna hang you up.
They will. They sure will. And there were some prominent pastors who churches were affected down there.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
That was the story that I had with my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
He had a prominent Lutheran congregation, but many of the people didn't return. And they couldn't sustain the ministry. And over 50% of the population fled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll say this, 100% had to leave.
Right.
Only 50% returned.
Right.
And so can you imagine if that happened? If Lake Michigan burped.
Right.
Can you imagine Chicago with only 2 million people?
Yeah, man.
Because we're at around 6 now.
Right.
Can you imagine it with only 2 million? And that seems like a lot of people, but that'd be like a ghost town in contrast.
That is, yeah. I get one last file to play here. I think it's B. What we learned from Hurricane Katrina. Let's see what they're saying.
In late August 2005, a Category 5 hurricane ripped through the southern United States, killing nearly 2,000 people and causing over $100 billion in damage. It was considered the single most catastrophic natural disaster in U.S. history. Much of the fallout has been blamed on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the ineffective response of the federal government. So, what have we learned from Hurricane Katrina? Well, although the storm traveled through the Bahamas, Florida, and across the Gulf of Mexico, the greatest loss of life occurred in New Orleans, Louisiana. Despite a wide-scale evacuation, about 100,000 residents stayed in the city. As a final effort, New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin established the Louisiana Superdome as a, quote, refuge of last resort. Some 20,000 people took cover from the storm in the sports arena. As the hurricane hit, it took down levees protecting parts of the city, which were at or below sea level. The subsequent flooding destroyed major sections of New Orleans, with over 100,000 homes and businesses affected. One of the strongest criticisms was against the Army Corps of Engineers, which had originally built the levees. A number of investigations found that the Corps of Engineers had made significant mistakes in designing the levees. The model for determining their strength specifically excluded severe storms in order to make the calculations easier. It was considered the worst civil engineering disaster in the United States. Although a lawsuit found the Corps guilty, they had sovereign immunity from prosecution and did not have to pay for any damages. The other guilty party was the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. Director Michael Brown was accused of delaying action while attempting to coordinate rescue and food assistance. Many said that the agency was ignoring direct requests and mismanaging resources. For example, $100 million of ice was diverted into government storage facilities instead of going to New Orleans. Director Brown defended the decision, saying that he didn't think the government should be concerned with keeping hamburger meat fresh, despite the ice being intended for hospitals and emergency food storage. Much of this was the result of Brown having had almost no emergency experience when he was appointed by President George W. Bush. Emergency preparation resources were also primarily focused on terrorist attacks instead of on potential natural disasters. Roughly 2 weeks later, Brown resigned. The mistakes made during the response to Hurricane Katrina changed the way the government dealt with natural disasters. Primarily, the focus shifted onto preparing supplies and funding ahead of time. FEMA's successful response to 2012's Hurricane Sandy saw water, meals, and beds moved into the eastern United States well before the storm hit. Although in terms of damage, Sandy was the second costliest hurricane in the U.S., the death toll was about 160 compared to Katrina's 2,000. The lessons learned about disaster response may have come at a huge price, but served to save considerably more lives in the future.
That's a lot.
Yes.
Okay, 100,000 people stayed. And many of the governmental agencies says, well, y'all need to go. Well, how they going to go?
And where they going to go?
And where they going to go? So many of them had to stay, okay? And then others stayed, even though they had means of leaving. They said, no, we've been through many of these. This will pass. This thing will pass.
But these, now make it clear, the people that stayed before, they stayed in spite of the warning to leave.
Yes.
But eventually they were evacuated.
Yes, some were, but others said, no, I'm going to protect my house.
No, eventually everybody was pushed out of town.
Well, if that was the case, 1,800 people would not have died.
After the warning went, these people stayed.
Right.
And these people started dying.
Right.
But eventually, after the dust settled.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Everybody had to leave.
Right. Well, yeah.
Everybody had to get out.
The people in the way, they have to
They had to.
Yeah.
They forced people out.
It was dangerous.
Police officers were quitting.
Yeah, they were.
And leaving because it was getting too stressful.
Yeah.
Because it was, people went to savage mentality. People were being raped in Superdome.
That's right.
Because now you're thinking about society no longer grouped out or how do I say, slotted or in quadrants. Now you lumping everybody. Type of person in one location.
Yes.
I mean, from intellect to idiot, from pedophile to professor.
Yep.
I mean, so now you got all kind of stuff going on. Yep. And who kept control? The street thugs.
The street thugs. They sure did. Absolutely.
They kept control.
And they ran the police crazy. Yeah, until the police started shooting.
Well, because the police were not serving the interests of the people.
Right.
The police were serving the interests of the business owners and the rich.
That's right.
And it's like, oh, no, we ain't got time for this. So that's what began to break stuff down.
Yeah, because most of that happened in the lower ninth, which was most of the poor you could live. But up in the upper echelon where they have the Mardi Gras.
No, that's French Quarter, which was not.
Well, the French Quarter wasn't affected as much as the
it's not very far from where the area is reaching. Now the area where it was not very severely damaged except wind damage was in the area called Algiers, which is over the bridge over on General de Gaulle Road, and over there that's like the equivalent of crossing Austin into Oak Park.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Or Roseland into the Beverly.
Yeah.
But a larger difference. Now, then that area wasn't as damaged as the inner city because it's over on the other side of the bridge across the river, as they call it, across the lake, across Lake Pontchartrain. But because of the damage and the bacteria, it was just horrible. Yeah. Even animals, alligators and snakes from the swamp areas was in that water coming up and feasting.
Yeah.
People were watching their relatives being consumed,
and they were the bodies were bloating. I mean, I've seen pictures. I mean, it was just this decay and disease. Well, you were susceptible to all of that stuff. But to recap this, Annette, first of all, thank you for reading all those chapters. I wanted you to preach it, but I know this is a Friday. You don't preach till Sunday. But
you're right.
You're Sunday somewhere.
Y'all were preaching.
Yeah. But it is God, not Satan, who controls the weather.
Okay.
God controls the skies and the rains. Psalm 77. God controls the wind. God upholds and sustains the universe. Hebrews 1 and 3. God has power over the clouds. Job 37. God has power over lightning and Satan. Okay. Psalms 18. And God has power over all things, on all nature. Job 26. Britt, play my outro. This is the perfect song here. Y'all call it tragedies. God is control of all things, including the weather, all through his providence, and provides for and protects his children. But he also ordains or permits Satan, demons, and mankind to exercise their limited will to commit acts of sin, evil, and wickedness. These same beings are fully responsible for any and all man-made disasters and tragedies they cause. And we know that God has ordained whatsoever comes to pass. Ephesians 1:11 and Romans 11:36. And therefore his invisible hand is in our pain. Even though he cannot sin or be the perpetrator of evil, James 1:13. There could be no meaningless suffering for the believer, whether the suffering is caused by mankind or by a nature event. We may not always know why evil acts or natural disasters happen, but we can be assured that in all our trials and tribulations, God is working all things together for his glory and for our everlasting good. And you read from Romans 8. Read that again, everybody, because it is a beautiful, beautiful, one of Paul's greatest writings, as a matter of fact. I think is Romans and probably the Corinthians 1 and 2. But Romans 8 is great. And, man, Albert Carter.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back home.
Thank you.
Yeah. And those of you who Annette, I know you lost your mom, you lost your brother.
Yes.
And you've seen death.
I have.
And not just with those two, you've seen death all throughout your family because you lost your pastor about, 3 years now, right?
3 years.
3 years now.
Coming in January.
Okay. And then he lost relatives.
Yes.
Okay. And you lost cousins and uncles. And, man, death kept hitting your house. All right? And here you are still waking up every morning.
Yes.
And running the streets, taking care of business and doing your shows here on the show, on the station. Yeah, and you're encouraging so many people. Why do you do that?
Because I've been encouraged.
Okay.
And I want to pay it forward.
To pay it forward. Wow.
Yes.
How are you encouraged?
Well, the very first death that I really experienced that was personal to me was my brother. And I'll never forget, there was a young lady who, at Monument of Faith, as a matter of fact, she had experienced so many deaths in her family. She told us, whenever you have to let it out, release it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you are or anything. And that to me showed transparency and also showed me how to deal with things. Don't sweep things under the rug. You will hurt in life. Things will come. Things will happen. It's all a matter of how you handle it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I learned from her, and then, subsequently I experienced the rest of the deaths in my family, so, to this date. But it allowed me to, it showed me how to handle it.
Yeah.
It really did.
Well, that's good stuff. Principal Keeter says Psalms 24 tells us that the earth belongs to God.
That's right.
He controls the course of nature, and he speaks to mankind through it. Science can only explain why these storms occur, thus excluding the spiritual conclusions. That's good stuff.
Yes,
and you lost your mom this year, Albert C. Carter.
Yes.
Okay. Yet you wake up every morning, you go to work, you take care of your family, and you preach and you teach on this show. Why you do that?
That's what he put me here for.
See. Yeah.
That's what I was created for.
That's what you were created for.
Yes.
Wow. And you will see your mom again. In the sweet by and by.
Funny thing is, oftentimes I see her in certain gestures and things I find myself doing. Oh, wow. I'm turning into my mama.
You're going to see her more and more now.
Yeah, you will. You sure will. Oh, I know.
It's like some of the things that I ignored are now manifesting.
Yeah.
So,
You know what, Sir Walter? In addition to that, the Lord has blessed me to be over the bereavement committee at my church. And I always tell people, unfortunately, I know what you're dealing with.
Sure.
So being in that position, I'm able to help someone else.
Bam. There you have it. I got to get out of here. Got a new show starting today, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Right. Looking forward to it. Look forward to hearing it. Y'all
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. UBM Praise is growing by leaps and bounds. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the show. Go to Spreaker.com and you hear the rest of it and share it with your friends. Be encouraged in the Lord. This is the Sir Walter Jones Show.
You've been listening to the Sir Walter Jones Radio Show, where he provides you with a biblical perspective for your everyday life. Stay connected to Sir Walter Jones by visiting him online at www.sirwalterjones.com or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/AskTheElder. Stay tuned until next time with the Sir Walter Jones Show with Sir Walter Jones.